Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Mililani Mauka Launani Valley Neighborhood Board 35, July 18th, 7 p.m. I call this meeting to order. And at this time, ask Boy Scout Troop 664 to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise for the presentation of the colors. Troop attention. Color guard attention. Color guard forward march. Maritime march. Ready, halt. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ready, toot. Color guard, maritime march. Left wheel, march. Forward, march. Maritime, march. Ready, halt. Color guard dismiss, troop dismiss, you may be seated.
Hey, thank you, Scouts BSA Troop 664. Moving on to our meeting agenda, Member Tamashiro, meeting decorum.
Okay, thank you very much. On behalf of your Mililani, Mauka, and Launani Neighborhood Board, in terms of meeting decorum, again, the board is interested in hearing all your feedback, concerns, ideas. We just ask that you raise your hand, be recognized by the chair, and then when dressed so, to please come up to the microphone and to share your thoughts. Those joining us virtually, again, same thing, raise your hand, be recognized by the chair. And we finally ask that you keep, if possible, so we can hear from as many people as possible, to limit approximately 3 minutes if you can. Okay, thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you very much. This being the initial convening meeting of this board for the new term, we do have to go through and take care of some board business and procedures. So first order of business, the election of board officers, the election of board chair. Any nominations for board chair? The job pays really well. Don't worry. No.
Nominate Dean Hazama for chair.
Moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, then we have to vote? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
The motion on the table is to elect Hazama for chair. Please state the name of the person you're voting for. Agadir.
Dean Hazama.
Good. Hazama.
Aye.
Kuehu. Melendrez.
Yes.
Miyamoto. Oishi. Did he just step out? Rogers.
Yep.
Tamashiro. All right, the motion passes with 6 in favor. Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, next is election of board vice chair. Have any nominations for board vice chair?
I nominate, Mr. Chairman, I nominate our usual vice chairman, please.
Okay, nominate Keith Tamashiro. Do you have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Go ahead. Vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any
Any others?
other nominations for vice chair? Okay, seeing none. Go ahead. Dylan.
Motion on the table is to elect Vice Chair Tamashiro. Agadir. That was a yes. Good. Azama.
Aye.
Kuehu. Melendrez.
Yes.
Miyamoto. Oishi. Rogers.
Was that me finally?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't hear anything down here.
Rogers.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Tamashiro.
Good job.
All right, you got lucky. 5 in favor, 0 nays, 1 abstention, passes. Thank you.
Yeah, nice try. Anyway, election of board secretary. Any nominations for board secretary? Floor is open.
Who is our normal secretary?
Susan.
Dana?
Yeah.
Susan. Oh, well, I nominate Susan then. That
Do you have a second? Second. Moved in second. And any other nominations for board secretary? Seeing none, then go ahead.
All right, motion on the table is to elect Miyamoto for secretary. Agadir. Say yes. Good. Hazama.
Aye.
Kuehu. Melendrez.
Yes.
Miyamoto. Oishi.
Too late.
Rogers.
Yes.
Tamashiro.
Yes.
All right, motion passes with 5 in favor, 0 nays, and 1 abstention.
Okay, last board officer is treasurer. Nominations for board treasurer are now open. Any nominations?
Oh, I'll nominate Stanton as usual.
Here you go.
Stanton would have to be here.
Pardon me? I need what here?
Would he have to run home for the flag or with the people?
Oh.
He's physically here, though?
Yeah.
I'll allow it. So
Okay.
that's Rogers nominated Oishi.
Supposedly he's physically, okay.
Yeah, he's here.
Any other, okay, so we nominated by Alice. We have a second? Seconded by Susan. Any other nominations for treasurer?
Mr.
See-
Chair, they've done such a good job. I don't see any reason to
Yeah.
do.
Obviously, these jobs are high paying, but there's so
High
much in
paying.
demand,
Yeah, right.
you know.
Come on.
so,
Don't be looking for a raise.
Yeah.
36.
All right, go ahead, Dylan.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table is to elect Oishi for treasurer. Agadir. Yes. Good. Hazama.
Aye.
Kuehu. Melendrez.
Yes.
Miyamoto. Oishi. Would you like to be treasurer? That's for you. How do you vote?
in.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an aye for him. Rogers.
Yep.
Come on.
Rogers.
Yes.
Thank you. Tamashiro. All right, congratulations, Stanton. Treasurer.
Okay, moving on, next item, meeting date, time, location, and format, which is hybrid. Any objections to retaining our meeting date, which is the third Tuesday of the month? Time is 7 p.m. Location is here at the Mililani Mauka Elementary Cafeteria. And format is hybrid. Any objections to maintaining?
We can
Yep.
do a unanimous on this, but could I
Yep.
get a mover and a second to make it a little more official?
Okay, need a motion to
You move
maintain.
it. Fine.
I so move.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay, we will retain that. For board recesses, our current recess schedule is December and March. We have a motion to maintain those recess schedules.
I so move.
So moved by Melendrez. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Alice. Any objections? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion carried. Thank you very much. Adoption of oral testimony rules, a 3-minute limit by mutual agreement of presenter, and chair has obviously the option to extend. They have a motion to maintain the oral testimony rule time.
Okay, I'll move that one.
Moved by Alice, there's second. Second by Melendrez. Any objections, any abstentions? Oral testimony rules are the same. For the formation of committees, the board may establish committees as required. If any board members are interested in serving on any committees, please inform the chair. And that is all of our board business. Congratulations.
Oh, Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I know that we have several committees. Could we just get a motion to retain them? If that was the intention.
Okay. The motion to maintain our current committees as stated.
I so move.
Moved by Melendrez, second by
Second
Alice.
again.
Any objections, any abstentions? We will retain our committees. Okay. Moving on to monthly reports, Honolulu Fire Department, I believe they're online.
Good evening. I'm firefighter Chadi Nomasu. Mililani, Mauka, Station 41. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so for the neighborhood board report for July, we have 3 activated alarms, 37 medicals, 2 motor vehicle collisions, and 1 mountain rescue. The safety tip we have for this month is for grilling. When you use your grill, make sure it's outside, away from doors, windows, vents, and other building openings. Place the grill away from sidings and deck railings. Make sure that there's nothing over it like eaves or trees. Keep children and pets at least 3 feet away from cooking areas, as well as away from starter fluids, lighters, matches. Never leave a hot barbecue unattended. When lighting a propane grill, make sure the cover is open. If the flame goes out, turn the grill and gas off and wait at least 5 minutes before attempting to relight. Periodically remove grease or fat buildup from the trays below so it cannot be ignited by a hot grill. When throwing out coals, make sure they cool completely and disposed of in a metal container. Don't dispose of them directly into a trash can. Do not store or use a grill on a porch or balcony, including any porch or balcony on an upper level of a building. Always store propane gas tanks outside of buildings or garages. Remember to properly inspect and maintain the tank, fittings, and hoses according to the manufacturer's instructions. Vapors leaked indoors can easily be ignited and cause an explosion. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for the fire department this evening?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
did I hear him say a mountain rescue?
Yes, 1 mountain rescue.
Which mountain?
This
in
was-
our district?
They classify it as a mountain rescue, but this is basically like hikers in distress. For this particular call, this was in the valley. Was it Mauka? Between Launani and Mililani.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the fire department this evening? If not, thank you very much. Moving on to the Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, board members, and good evening, community members. Oh, wrong way. I'll go this way. Looking this way. Okay, perfect. So my name is Timino. I'm with the Honolulu Police Department, and today I just want to start off with our safety tip of the month. Will actually be for the week or even for the season, which would be about hurricane season. So as many of you know, if you watch the news, we do have a tropical storm heading towards Oahu, heading towards the Hawaiian Islands. So for us, I don't think we're going to be we're not going to get the full brunt of it. But we are expecting to see rain and high winds. And usually in the Mililani area, usually this type of weather, we do see down trees, branches, and down power lines. So we encourage all of you, the community members, that if you don't have to drive, if it's raining, you don't have to drive, please stay at home. Don't go hiking, or you're going to be on each of these next hiking, the mountain rescue stat. And please, like I said, stay home. But if you got to go work, you got to go work. Please don't use this as an excuse. And if you want to know what's happening in the community, please look at our honolulupd.org and see what's going on, what's happening in the community. And I just want to let everybody know that on July 25th, with thanks to Representative Tricia LaChica, we will be hosting a re-imaging of a law enforcement community event at the Mililani High School from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. just to discuss the resources the department is providing in the community, as well as address any of the recent incidents that we did have in the past months in the Mililani area. So if you have any questions or if you're interested in coming out, please come out July 25th at Mililani High School. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the Honolulu Police Department this evening? Anyone online? Okay, thank you. Moving on to Board of Water Supply. Kathleen, I know you're online.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay,
Well-
congratulations, everybody, for being reelected and to all the new officers, or actually the old officers instead of new ones. So I'm pleased to report that we had no main breaks in your community. And our announcement for the month is we are having our annual Unthirsty plant sale on Saturday, August 5th. This is the first time in 3 years because of COVID. So if you are into xeriscaping and native plants, we invite you to come down to our garden in Halava. And we have lots of vendors there, lots of good deals, lots of good prices. We have also some folks there that will help you with your gardening questions. So we hope you can make it. That's August 5th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The other thing I did want to mention is that we did ask the contractor to clean. I went down to the reservoir next to the rec center up the hill there, and I took a bunch of pictures and sent them to our construction crew. And they did clean up around that reservoir. They sent me some pictures today. So if you see anything else that looks out of place or doesn't look good, let me know and we'll take care of it for you guys. That's my report. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Board of Water Supply this evening? Anyone? Hey, Kathleen, I did get your email on the board presentation.
Yes, sir.
Fortunately, I didn't receive it in time to notice it for this meeting. It was too late. Our next meeting is August 15th, but I noticed you guys will be at JCCH. Are you guys able to still present to the
No,
board on August?
unfortunately, we won't be able to do that, but we're doing presentations in both August and September. It was actually for August and September, not July. So we could do September for you if you want us to.
Okay, I'll get back with you. I'll get the date to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Moving on to our military representative this evening.
Aloha kako. Mike Donnelly from U.S. Army Garrison, Hawaii, with some brief announcements today from the Army side. First, we always start with the job fair that we're offering this month, 25 July at Kapolei High School. That's from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And just if you want to go online, HIMWR.com is the website. And we really encourage folks to get out there. If you're interested, particularly in the Child Youth Services Division, you get commissary and PX privileges, really a benefit financially. Second, even though this is the summer, a lot of soldiers are changing out. We still have training going on. There will be some training towards the last week and a half of July, some live fire going on, and then, of course, blank fire in East Range. And with that, third announcement, just to remind everybody, if you have any complaints for noise or concern for us, dial that number 808-656-3487. That's our community concern line. It's been fairly active. We really appreciate the feedback. We call everybody back. We give them the opportunity to give us the details, and then we also facilitate them with tools that they can use to help us identify exactly what was occurring during the training so that we can get after the unit and see if anything needs to be done differently. Next, we did, in conjunction with Honolulu Police Department, our emergency services team, along with the Chief Zero, conducted a sweep down at Army Beach in Mokuleia. They issued some warnings, and then they go through the next day and actually do the sweep. And they worked with Department of Transportation to take care of Army Beach and get those folks out of there. But it is a joint operation because of the jurisdiction and the lines of who owns what parcel. So that was taken care of. Unfortunately, it is kind of a whack-a-mole operation. We have to continually do that. We're looking closely right now this week at the Kipapa Gulch area, which seems to be a consistent issue that they're going to get after, but we are tracking that as well. And then also with Army Beach, this Friday, we're having a meeting about the turtle nesting season down on Army Beach and how we're going to protect that area because the homeless seem to come back when we're not there. So we're going to get after that and continue to watch Army Beach closely. Also, lastly, in November, just a warning, or not a warning, but just a heads up. We want to start messaging now for the middle of fall, early winter. We'll have the larger exercise, which is commonly referred to as JPMRC. It's a long acronym, but it's when we have increased aircraft in the air. We've got international soldiers coming here to train. And so we'll continually in the coming months push information about that. And we want to take some lessons learned from last year, particularly with the noise complaints and the flying patterns, and apply those so that we take the community into consideration and try to be fly with aloha and try not to be try to reduce the amount of nuisance that the aircraft in the air are having. Two final announcements. We want to say mahalo to everybody who came out on 1st of July. We had a record number of folks attend the Independence Day celebration, almost 30,000 people. So it was really an incredible night. Even though we didn't get to see the free fall jumpers, it was an incredible night. Finally, we have on the 19th of August, just a heads up, there's the Wounded Warrior Canoe Regatta. Anybody has interest in paddling on a five-man team, the steersman is always provided. You can do that. Just Google NACOA Wounded Warrior Regatta. It's down on Fort DeRussy from 7:30 till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, the 19th. Always a great event and well attended. And then finally, I sent the chair a note. We're just looking to go to all the neighborhood boards to do the aviation briefing so that we can bring our top aviators in here to explain how we fly. We want questions. We want to talk story about it so everybody understands how we fly, particularly out of Wheeler. So we just need to get a date in the coming months to come and brief, and it takes about 20 minutes. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our military representative this evening? No, seeing none. Thank you, Mike.
Okay,
Appreciate
mahalo.
it. Mahalo. All right, moving on. We have two board business items this evening. One is a recognition of Shelby Holm, who was a board member from 2021 to 2023. And Alice, thank you for preparing the certificate. But Shelby is not on island at this point, so.
Actually, Dylan did it because I requested it.
Oh, okay. Dylan normally does things that you request, Alice, so just to let you know. But anyway, she is not here, but we will mail the certificate to her in thanks for her service to this board during that time. Okay, moving on. This evening we have a presentation on Achieve Zero by their Executive Director, Nikki Winter. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, board members, members of the community. Thank you for having me. As Chair mentioned, my name is Nikki. I'm the Executive Director of Achieve Zero, and we are a healing community and humanizing homelessness agency. We are state contracted to provide services across 50% of Oahu. While he gets the slides up, I just want to say that I know homelessness is a large topic and we could probably spend a week talking about it. But I only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to blow through a lot of information, but please feel free to reach out anytime if you guys have further questions. So as the quote says, people without homes are not social inadequates. They are simply people without homes. That matters to us at Achieve Zero. Next. So just a quick overview of who we are. We were founded in 2016 in January. In 2017, we were subcontracted by US Vets who held the master state contract. We were subcontracted to service Region 5, which is Mililani to North Shore. That was the first year. We also took point as lead for the point in time count. That's a HUD mandated nationwide count of those experiencing homelessness. I took over the position in December of 2019. And as we all know, 3 months later, the pandemic hit. The good news about the pandemic was it gave us some time to really think about who we were as an organization and what our value proposition was and what our identity could be. So we did a complete organizational restructure. And in 2021, we rebranded the organization into what it is today, which is Achieve Zero. In June of that, sorry, that's okay, you can stay there. In June of that year, we were awarded the master contract. So not only were we in charge of Region 5, but additionally, we were given Region 3, which is also IAEA Kapolei. Thank you. So one of the things that came out of all that planning that we did when we restructured our organization, one of the constant themes that came through was this concept of human dignity. And we felt that, as a society, we have kind of gotten a little lost and forgotten that we're talking about human beings. And, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, as the quote says. And for us, human dignity is a foundation upon which we build all of our programs. Because we believe that all houseless individuals have a name, they have a story and a right to be seen and heard, just like everybody else. Next, please. So that state contract that I was talking about, we were awarded $1.3 million to be distributed over 4 years. And as I mentioned, we got region 3 and 5, which is pink and yellow. So approximately 50% of the geographical area of Oahu. Next, please. Now I'm sorry, this is the point in time count that we were talking about. So at the last, it's HUD mandated to do a point in time count. We did not do one in 2021 because of the pandemic. So in 2022, we did one, and then we just did the one in 2023. The report was just released in April. According to that count, the number that was counted in both regions was 453. Now I can tell you with absolute certainty that that number is undercounted. It's not a perfect system. It's simply a snapshot in time, but that's the number that was counted. Next, please. So under our state contract, 1.3 over 4 years, we're allowed 4 people. As you can see, I've named them Eeny, Meeny, Miny, and Mo. So we are allowed 4 outreach case man. I'm glad you laughed because homelessness can be very depressing right at times. So I'm glad at least I made you smile. But 1.3 over 4 years, I'm allowed 4 people to cover 50% of Oahu. Now, respectfully, this model is ineffective and it does not work because it's antiquated. With 4 people under this contract and the number that we counted, each one of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, and Mo each have to carry a 113-person caseload. How effective do we think we can be carrying a 113-person caseload? So with this model, we're just managing homelessness, right? We're doing the bare minimum just to get by, and we have to really stop managing it. We really need to focus on ending it. Homelessness has gotten so bad and it's such a crisis that mediocrity does not cut it, right? You have to deliver at a level of excellence to move the bar a little. So how do we do that? So instead of focusing on the model that is antiquated that we know is ineffective, we tried to find a way that we could be effective. It took us a couple of years, but thanks to Councilmember Wyer's office, we were able to secure funds to launch the We Are Wahiawa campaign. The purpose of this campaign is to do exactly what that heart is. It's to heal the divide between homelessness and community, because that is the only way we're going to move forward. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to take 2 people and drop them in a small geographical region. The point of this is to force a tipping point of change. Now, what happens when you saturate a small geographical area with services and resources is you create an environment where change is the only option, right? It's called forcing that tipping point of change. So we wanted to drop 2 people dedicated in Wahiawa to focus on that. And their only job is to get that community to come together, work together, to pool resources, to train people who want to do outreach, public relations, get people involved, to implement strategies and processes, to assess them, to adapt if they don't work and modify. Now, we have to bring community together because homelessness can't be done individually. Chief Zero can't do it alone. Government can't do it alone. Business leaders can't do it alone. We have to do it all together. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about homelessness, we know that there's a lot of stigmatization that goes along with it, right? And when we think of homelessness, you can keep clicking. This is what we think about, right? The guy talking to himself on the street, dirty, big messes. We think about crime and substance abuse and mental health issues, all of which are true. And, absolutely, people experiencing homelessness suffer these. I just want to point out that they don't own these issues. They do not own the crime problems. They do not own the mental health problems, and they do not own the substance abuse problems. I just wanted to remind everybody. Now, also, what is good to remind everybody is that if you look at those numbers, I hear a lot about homelessness and people living on the streets and the issues that it causes in communities. I rarely hear anybody talking about the amount of people that die every year. So I wanted to put those numbers up there just so we can remember. Last year alone, 152 of our brothers and sisters died alone on the streets with no place to call home. Like, that is devastating to me. So I just wanted a reminder for everybody. You can see that the average age the median age for those 152 people that died is about 50 years old. Now, the average age of people in general is probably what, about, I don't know what it is, but probably about 85 years old. That's 35 years of memories, experiences, moments with their children, their grandchildren that they didn't get because they died at 50 on the streets, 152 people. So when I talk about humanizing homelessness, this is what I'm talking about. This series was done by Andy Halls, who's a photographer, in 2019. He went into Chinatown and made friends with the people there. And he took these pictures. And we have to remember that those experiencing homelessness are people with hopes and dreams. They hurt, they feel pain, they feel loneliness, they feel sorrow. They also laugh and they love. They have dreams just like us. And I think it's important for us to remember that. Okay, so we know the causes of homelessness, right? We know that that's why the problem is so hard to fix and it's so big, because it's so multifaceted. Everything that we possibly can think of feeds into homelessness, right? Domestic violence, sex trafficking, child welfare, lack of affordable housing, lack of living wage, or addiction and mental health systems, right? Everything feeds into homelessness, which is what makes it so convoluted and difficult to solve. But at Achieve Zero, we believe the fundamental key is this break between homelessness and community. We have to heal this divide and work together, or we're never going to end homelessness. Now, when I talk about community, I'm talking about everybody within a community. I'm talking about, Auntie Lonnie across the street, to Uncle Joe down the road, to every business owner in the community, to the schools and the DOE system, our government leaders. We need everybody to get involved, because together with Aloha, we can get it done. And I truly believe that. Really, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is we have two choices. We choose to house our people in our communities, or we choose homelessness. As Mike mentioned, his term was whack-a-mole, right? You sweep them, they come back. There's a reason they keep coming back, because they're tied to the communities that they live in. They know where their support system is. They know where resources are. They rode their bikes on your neighborhood streets. They went to your schools. So to force them out of that community, to me, it's kind of cruel. That's why they keep coming back. So we have two choices. We can house them, or we choose homelessness. Those are really the only options. So when people ask, how can we help? No shame in my game. I will tell you to donate if you can. Every single community-based organization, nonprofit, is resource starved. And we are solving some of the most complex issues that we face socially and economically, right? We're talking about child welfare, kupuna care, sex trafficking, drug abuse, homelessness. And we're so underfunded and so over capacity. So if you have the ability, please donate. It doesn't have to be to my organization. Any nonprofit is great. But if you can't, at least be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We know homelessness is frustrating. We know it's something that affects everybody, but anger and hate is not the way forward, right? We can't fix problems with anger and hate. So if you can't be part of the solution, at least please don't be part of the problem. Communication and partners, like Mike said, we partner with them on their endeavors to work with the homeless community, but we have to talk to each other. We really have to communicate and have open, candid, respectful conversations about homelessness, which is what we're doing in Wahiawa. We hold monthly town halls with the community to talk to them about what they want to do with this funding that came in, because I would be remiss if I went into that community and said, this is what you need to do to fix a problem. Nobody knows the community better than the community itself. So we have to start talking to each other and set aside the hate and anger and work together for problem solving and solutions. If nothing else, please just live aloha and be kind. Kindness is the single most underutilized way to make massive, impactful change. And you want to hear the best part? It doesn't cost anything. It is free to be kind to people. Now, I just put this up here as a reminder to all of us. There's not a single person in the entire state that is unaffected by homelessness, whether it's just driving past it every day, whether it's coming to this business that you spent decades building and there's people sleeping on your front walk. Every single person in the state is affected by homelessness. And I believe, this is my personal opinion, that anybody who lays their feet upon these beautiful and sacred lands of Hawaii has a responsibility to malama each other. And that means all of her sons and daughters, not just those that are housed. Because if we work together, we can get it done. But we have to be willing to work together. And the last thing I want to leave you with is, at the end of the day, regardless of all of it, we're the Aloha State. We cannot forget who we are as a people. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any, but that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Nikki. Any questions? Come on.
Thank you for sharing that with regard to your services here on Oahu. Oh, okay. Where you want to go? Okay. So I kind of take this real personal. And at the same time, I know that you're underfunded. And with 4 people and only 113, one of my friends was a fatality. She came from Wahiwa, Whitmore, and she had 2 twins. She raised them their entire lives. The father was absent most of the time. They weren't married. Ultimately, she was removed from the house by the police because of the father. She ended up going across this line of IAEA that you talk about into Sand Island, and no help was given. She needed mental health. She was half blind, and she committed suicide. And I have also been part of the system. I was in domestic violence shelter when I came here. I was from California, and I spent 90 days. I did get the help I needed. I did get the support I needed, but because I had my children, she was removed from what she loved the most. And so I think more so, like you said about this line that you're talking about, we have to even go beyond IAEA, because when the person's put away from your own area of case, you can't help them. And neither can anybody over there. And when someone decides that they don't want to live here longer, they don't. And so I thank you so much for everything that you've done, but there's a lot of work to be done, and it's more than just donations. I did open my house. She stayed for 2 weeks. I did pick her up from a bad situation, but it was, I did my best. But I want to thank you for the services, but we really need to work harder on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much for all the work you're doing. We helped to fund your predecessor, Leah Bridge, and we're so proud of the work that you're carrying on now. Have you tied into any of the plans for the governor on home development? Have you approached that? yet?
We're actually working with some members or some of the people that work in his office to see what we can do to get some housing everywhere, really.
Great.
So we're definitely working closely with the governor's office.
Thank you.
And our their city counterparts as well.
Great. What is your website?
www.achievezero.org.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Nikki, that was an excellent presentation. Got to tell you, I agree with you 100%. Felt your message, definitely see your passion. Just a question I have is, because you are contracted, I'm sure there are performance measurements that you have to meet.
Yes.
Would you be willing to share what some of those are, or maybe what the success stories were in terms of how you helped people come off of homelessness and how you did it?
Absolutely. That's a really long conversation, because that's another thing that makes homelessness so hard, right? There's no blanket solution, because we're talking about people. People have different personalities. They have different hopes and dreams. They have different trauma. I can tell you that every person experiencing homelessness has suffered some kind of trauma in their life. People don't choose this. People do not choose to be judged and ostracized by the community that they grew up in. So what we try to do is we try to make sure that all the programs and all the interactions we have are client-centric. So for example, you can go to any agency and they'll have a service plan, individual service plan that marks the journey of the person you're working with, right? They'll ask things like, do you need substance abuse treatment? Do you need a workforce readiness? When I took over as executive director and we did this deep dive into who we wanted to be, we revamped ours, and ours asked, what did you dream about being when you were a kid? What is your biggest regret? If I gave you a magic wand, what would you do with it? Because we want to know what drives people. We don't want blanket solutions that, we read in a book somewhere. We want individual encounters and individual changes. We want to create relationships. So we feel like that client-centric focus is what helps us to be successful. It's definitely not easy. It's not something that happens overnight. Sometimes it takes years just to build a rapport where someone will tell you what their trauma is. Homelessness is never going to be a quick fix. I probably won't live to see the end of homelessness or close to the end in my lifetime. But I think if we stay focused on working together and remembering that we're talking about people, and we build programs around that, I think that's where the success is, right? So that's, I don't know, there's no recipe, there's no magic wand, but we just do the best to remember that we're talking about people. Yeah.
Any other questions?
But I'm happy to send you the PMOs.
Oh.
I'll get with you after and get your email address.
So Nikki, the
Yes.
saturation in Wahiawa was funded by the city.
Yes.
How long does that funding last for those 2 people?
So we actually just launched on June 9th was the first day of the project. It's an 11-month project.
And then the 4 other people are in the other area.
We'll cover the other areas. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I know I attended a couple of your meetings in Wahiawa.
Oh,
So,
good. Thank you.
it's really good because they have the state as well as the city providers, the county providers there too.
Yeah.
But I think some of the, but I know some of the representatives wanted to get the Mililani areas involved, but it's a little difficult because like you said, I guess the community, the homeless guys that live in Wahiawa are from that community. And then, I guess we have other people living outside of that community too. So,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's definitely not an easy solution, but we're always open to having our team come out if you guys need, or having us come out to talk to people, community members. I mean, please share my phone number free to anybody you feel needs it. I am happy to come out and talk to community members at any time.
so are there any kauhales planned for Wahiawa or out this side?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know, like you guys, governor is planning on 12, I believe, or 13
Right.
kauhale. There is a project, the city purchased a building in Wahiawa on California Avenue. There's 24 rooms, I believe it was, 23 or 24 rooms, and the request for proposal should be dropping soon. So Achieve Zero will be putting in a proposal to see if we can get this housing project as part of this We Are Wahiawa, because at the end of the day, without housing,
Right.
there's nowhere for them to go. They're going to be on the streets. So we absolutely need housing. So we are working with the city to see what we can do about getting a proposal in. But as far as like plans for specific kauhales there, I don't know the answer to that question. I would like one, of course.
Okay,
But,
well,
yeah.
we can ask the governor's rep who's on.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Nikki? Go ahead.
Just last question. What is a contact phone number that people can receive services through?
Actually, the best way is to go to our website because we have QR codes and links. So all you have to do is scan the QR code and it takes you right to our referral page, and you just put the information, you send it, and you get an automatic reply letting you know that we received it. But if you need a phone number, my cell phone number is 445-5527. Feel free to reach out and disperse that number
Thank you.
readily. Yes.
Okay, any other questions? No, if not, thank you very much, Nikki.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to residents or community concerns. Do we have any this evening that are not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our elected officials report. Office of Governor Josh Green. Mel, are you on?
I am on, and I
Well-
do not know the answer to that question about whether there's going to be a kauhale in Mililani or Wahiawa. I'm sorry, I was trying to Google it really quickly and I couldn't find any. So if I get that answer, in fact, I will get back to you and let the board know. I'm sorry about that. On that
no.
note, yeah, on that note, the governor signed an emergency proclamation yesterday related to affordable housing. And what that does is it breaks down the silos that sometimes we as state agencies have. And really what the proclamation is designed to do is to speed up the delivery of housing. We all know that there is a housing shortage. We all know there's a homelessness issue, crisis, but there is an affordable housing crisis. We can't get the qualified nurses because of the cost of living in Hawaii. Same with teachers. So what this proclamation does is to hasten the delivery of housing units. So that's what he signed yesterday. Other things that I have to report is the CIP Community Improvement Project list came out. And for the Mililani area, I'm happy to report that the Mililani Lelehua and Waialua complex within the DOE is going to get $35 million to build a centralized kitchen. And that's supposed to be completed by January 2027. There's also $1 million that was dedicated for the Mililani Uka Elementary School for ADA improvements, Americans with Disabilities Act improvements, and that's to come into compliance with that law. And then, according to the governor's newsletter, I'm moving on to my third item to report. Governor Green signed several bills into law this past few months. A couple of them deal with gun reform and gun control. One of which is Senate Bill 1230, Act 52, which actually addresses sensitive areas where firearms will be prohibited. And then there's Act 53, House Bill 1239, related to active shooter training. Another piece of legislation he signed into law recently is Act 62, relating to anti-vaping, and it hopes to reduce access and availability of electronic smoking devices to children and teens. And the last item I have to report, the last time we had this neighborhood board meeting, someone, I forget who it was, did a presentation on pesticides, and one of the board members asked or requested that the governor support legislation to reduce the use of such pesticides. So I'm happy to report that the governor's office actually told me today that the governor signed House Bill 692 HD CD1, which actually increases the penalties, both administrative and criminal penalties, for violating the Hawaii pesticides law. So that's something that the governor has done to actually ensure that our communities will be a little bit safer from pesticides by this legislation. And that's all I have to report, Chair Azama.
Okay, thank you, Mel. Any questions for the governor's office this evening? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Anybody from Congressman Ed Case's office online? Nope. Okay, moving on to the office of Mayor Rick Blangiardi. Carrie?
Hi, good evening, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Carrie Castle, Deputy Director with the Mayor Blangiardi Administration. I wanted to share a reminder that in June, the Mayor signed the City Council's adopted FY24 operating budget. That operating budget was a $3.4 billion budget. One of the highest priorities included in this budget was a one-time tax credit, real property tax credit of $350. This applied to about 152,000 homeowners. This was very historic. What the mayor, city council wanted to do was try to provide immediate tax relief to homeowners with respect to real property taxes. While, we've heard, I guess we've heard from various taxpayers or indicating that, the $350 credit didn't seem too meaningful for some, but in other cases, I think it was meaningful to others. To just share that $350 tax credit across 152,000 homeowners, that amounts to $53 million in lower revenues that the city would be taking in because of this one-time tax credit. The property tax bills will be going out this week. So taxpayers can expect to see immediately again this credit that will be applied to the 2 installments. So that $350 will be split again with your first installment and then the second. In addition to the one-time tax credit, the City Council adopted 2 bills on July 7th, again having to do with real property tax relief. This first one, Bill 37, is a low income tax credit. The tax credit exists today or had existed with a taxpayer's income at $60,000. What Bill 37 did was raise the income threshold to receive a property tax credit, going from $60,000 to $80,000. So this credit limits the amount of property taxes owed by such eligible filers to no more than 3% of a filer's income. So if you take the 3% times the $80,000, you're looking at about $2,400. Bill 40 was also passed. And what Bill 40 is, it relates to the property tax exemption for homeowners. So for those individuals that are below the age of 65, the real property tax exemption went from 100,000 to 120,000, again, lowering your assessed value. And then for those that are 65 and up, the homeowners exemption increased from 140,000 to $160,000. Are there any questions? Otherwise, I'll go on to the issues that were raised in last month's meeting.
Hold on. Go ahead, Alice.
Thank you for your presentation. I printed out this real property tax credit for homeowners at home, and I know I've reread it a number of times. I'm not at all sure what I saw. Obviously, I have a homeowner's exemption now and have had for a long time because I've been over 65, number one. The one thing I would address is when you're talking about the tax exemption dollars going up, you're talking about the 2024-2025 tax season, are you not?
Yeah, this is for the fiscal year 25.
Right.
So
So that's not going to help anybody this year.
that's correct.
And then I have this next question is, I understand the eligibility requirements, but the other thing with this tax credit applications, I'm totally baffled as to what that is. Am I supposed to file something else for this so-called tax credit? I mean, I thought the tax credit was about $350 or something like that.
Yes, yes. So for the $350 one-time tax credit, you will see that immediately in your upcoming bill. Okay.
But I don't have to file anything?
You don't have to file
Very
anything.
confusing. The whole thing is very, very confusing.
I apologize that it's not clear, but if I could just share that there is no application for that one-time tax credit that needs to be filed by the homeowners. With respect to Bill 37 and Bill 40 that I just shared, those are effective in the fiscal year 25. However, on Bill 37, which is the low income tax credit, although it's applicable in fiscal year 25, for those that qualify at the $80,000 income level, they do have to file an application by October 2nd to be eligible for the following fiscal year, because those applications will then get reviewed by our Treasury office and at that point determined if someone is eligible. So that low income tax credit, it is separate and different from the $350 one-time tax credit.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
Okay, with respect to the items that were brought up in our last meeting on the Mililani Mauka Park and Ride. So the last suggestion from board member Kuehu, Ms. Kuehu, she suggested that I guess where the parking stalls were at one time in place, she suggested that because people are still parking there, that the curbside along that area be painted red. So our Department of Transportation Services would like to thank Ms. Kuehu for her suggestion. And DTS will submit or has submitted a work order for the curb adjacent to this bus stop shelter to be painted red. The second item had to do with the new bus routes as a result of Skyline being in operations, and how does the community get their information as far as any changes. So again, our Department of Transportation Services is responsible for the buses. They shared that there are a number of opportunities or avenues in place to share and communicate with the public. So it's a long list, but I'll go ahead and read it. So it says Department of Transportation Services uses various methods of public outreach depending on the scope of the service modification. So these methods include notices emailed to affected neighborhood boards and council members. Neighborhood board presentations can be made upon request. Notices are posted at the affected bus stops and transit centers. Notices are also posted online at www.thebus.org. Notices are also handed out to riders at bus stops and on board the buses. Information is shared via press release, social media, and mobile phone applications. And rider alert cards are posted on all buses, listing the routes affected by the quarterly service changes. For information specific to these changes, riders are referred to the bus website, which is www.thebus.org, or the transit information phone line at area code 808-848-5555. Press option 2, and the hours of support are from 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. I guess there was a question that not every bus rider may have access to a computer. So as an option again, that I think for those people that carry mobile phones, you can also access the web using your mobile phone, or again, call at 808-848-5555. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Any other questions for the mayor's office this evening? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Moving on to Council District 8, Councilmember Okimoto's office. Jamie.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Congratulations to everyone on your reelection. My name is Jamie Shadell from the office of, keep on saying Representative, Council Member Val Okimoto. Deputy Director Castle touched upon some of the stuff that I was going to share tonight. I did email Chair Hazama that the balance of streets in the Lehiva Drive area, the award has gone out June 14th. I need to get back to the department and find out when they're going to actually start, but their timeline is through June 30th of next year. So we met with DFM yesterday, and they're saying that the issues with the airport and the asphalt there isn't affecting any of the city projects. So the deferrals are only on the state level. And the other thing that we want to share is just to make sure everybody's prepared for hurricane season. Calvin is starting to affect the portions of Hawaii Island tonight. So urge everybody to have a 4-week emergency supply, and prepare for that hurricane that may or may not show up. Pending any questions, board,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions for Councilmember Okimoto's office? Yeah, so Jamie, I think some of our upper streets in Mauka, the ones on the top, they're in the phase 1 package.
Okay,
So that's why we need to see the phase 1 start construction date.
okay, I'll follow up.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then if there are any other streets, DFM does have a separate pot of money to rehab streets that's separate from the one that was just awarded. So if you email those streets to me, we can send them. over
Okay,
to-
yeah, so when I see the phase 1 schedule and the phase 2 one that you sent me, we can look and see if there are any streets missing, but I
Okay.
think they caught them all.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I will double check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chair, I just had one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Teresa can go first.
Oh,
Thanks. I just wanted to put it into the minutes for a follow-up with regards to Launani Valley and the safety signage for the sharp turn at the top of Wekau Street where Trinity Church is. I think that's the name. Or right next to Spectrum. There's a very sharp turn, and I had requested for some follow-up to put maybe similar signage that Mililani, right where Mililani High School is, Kipapa Drive, that same turn where the stadium for Mililani High School, there's a sharp turn as well. And they have arrow signage and the signs that show for a sharp turn, whereas the one at Wekau Street shows the curvy hill going down, but it doesn't have any safety signs, which has caused there have been a lot of accidents with the church there. They have had their pipes hit, their fence has been mowed down, the hydrant there has been mowed over, all of that. And so what they did recently is they moved their fence line back. So at least their fence wouldn't be as damaged because they'd have to hit all the trees first. But I just wanted to do some follow-up. I haven't seen anything from either our officials or with Councilmember Matt Wire's office. So if we could just maybe follow up to see if there has been anything. Thank you.
Thank you. This was just a resident submitted some testimony to our office in regards to the drinking fountain at Mililani Mauka Community Park. They mentioned that they had contacted Okimoto's office and La Chica and Ozawa about it. Have you heard anything about a broken drinking fountain?
We submitted it to Parks Department, but we haven't received a follow-up yet.
Okay, perfect. But you guys are working on it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. We don't want to do double work. That's it.
thank you, Jamie. Okay, Council District 2, Councilmember Wire's office, Kelly.
Chair and members of the board, Kelly Anaya from Councilmember Matt Wire's office. I really don't have much to report. Mayor's office and Jamie pretty much covered everything. But as far as Teresa's concerned, Jamie, we can go ahead and take care of that because I believe that is actually Councilmember Wire's district, the Wekau Street. So, and I am familiar with that from Councilmember Suniyoshi's time. So I'll go ahead and follow up with that. Yeah, sorry about that. The only other thing I can report, Councilmember Wire's Bill 34 and 35 relating to real property tax. I believe I reported that last month as well. Both of them passed first reading last week, Wednesday at the full council. So again, just to recap, Bill 34 would increase the exemption to 250,000 and then up to 300,000 for those 65 and over. And then Bill 35 is the one that changes the way the assessment is done. So it'll take an average over a course of several years as opposed to a single year. And then somebody had a question. I think it was you, Miss Alice, about the park at Core. Was that you? Yeah. So unfortunately, that vinegar situation, the park, that area is still closed, but they are working on it. Apparently, right up against the fence line, it's still all brown. So even though it looks like it's getting better, right up the fence is not quite ready yet. So no timeline was given as to when they were going to reopen. So they're working on it. They thank you for your patience.
Mr. Chair, I'm laughing because
Was that you?
because that vinegar still works. It gets rid of weeds, let me tell you. And you can try Roundup and you can try Natria and a few other things, but it works. The property tax thing, am I going to be alive? When does that take effect? I'm 84.
Yes.
I'm 84 and I
Yes,
just
you
want to
are.
know what year is
Yes,
that
you
going
are. You need to speak it. So when it passes, it'll be for the July 1st, 2025. Yeah. You will be. You're gonna speak it.
All right.
And I'm sorry, that's all I have. If you have any questions for council member, I'd be happy to take them.
No, thank you very much, Kelly.
No? Okay, thank you.
Hey, before I move on, oh, Carrie, are you still on?
Hello.
Hey, yeah. Did you get any status from DTS on that, on the Mehiula sign, the one they were gonna look at, seeing if they can put some kind of candlesticks, or they're gonna check with HFD, I think, on the clearance for that sign that
know,
always get hit.
I think you're right, Chair. I recall that matter, but somehow it got dropped off of the report. So I will have to follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully they'll do something before somebody hits that sign again for the 20th time or something, but okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to State Senator Dela Cruz's office, David Cho. David, you on?
Hi, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can. Go ahead.
All right. Good evening, board members and the community. This is David Cho with Senator Dela Cruz's office. I just wanted to give a quick update from June. So now that the governor has signed all bills and he has vetoed any bills that he has indicated that he would veto, the projects that were announced for Mililani at the last board meeting have made it into the finalized budget, with the exception of anything that was line item vetoed in the governor's announcements. So that would be mainly the appropriations with the first responders tech campus, but then the projects for the schools like Mililani High School, and I believe Mililani Mauka Elementary received some projects. So we'll be we'll continue to follow those. And I mean, I know you guys are at the elementary school and you guys have probably seen the progress that is being made on the covered play court. There is much progress that's been made since we first started. There were some trials and tribulations that we went through, but construction is progressing, and we're looking forward to be finished by next year. And I wanted to give a quick update on the Mililani Middle School parking lot. So DOE and the county are finalizing an agreement, but it looks like the best way to get the parking lot open is for the user groups to be requesting for use of the parking lot, because it's they have to basically indemnify, the state has to be indemnified when users are going on, especially on the weekend hours. So the best way to do that is to do that through the school use form, the school use of facilities form. So that'll be done by the user groups, where they will continue to be able to use it during that period of when the parking lot is needed. And then the users will be able to use it on the weekends that it's needed for soccer games or flag football games and whatnot. So they should be finalizing within the next month or so.
Is that it, David?
Yep, that's it, Chair.
Any questions for, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. David, Steve Melendres here. Thank you for the report. When looking at the governor's budget concerning the tech park, the funds that were allocated, what is the senator going to allocate those funds to? What part of the tech park?
No, there are no funds. So
That was 50 billion. That was
so the
50
state would have been investing funding into phase 2, but the governor line item vetoed those funds, so there are no funds that are in the budget.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so David, for the parking lot, here's my recommendation. So if the DOE is saying that they need, the user groups need to apply, right? Then I think the county or the parks, basically they gotta apply for a permit. The user groups have to apply for a permit to use the parks, right?
Right.
Why can't then the parks then go ahead and forward that request directly to DOE rather than have the user groups go to the DOE directly?
Well, because they would be leasing, obviously, the park is it's a county facility, and then the schools would be maintaining their side of it. So they need to maintain and manage access to the parking lot where
I
the
understand the
county.
access part, but I'm saying that the use request to the school should come from the parks department and not the user group. Otherwise, why is the city and the state getting into any kind of agreement if you're gonna have the users directly have the agreement with the DOE or the state? Doesn't make sense. So when the user group, like a soccer team, applies for use of the park and they say they need parking or they need to use the school parking lot, then I think the parks department can then forward the user request onto the school to use the parking lot part.
So you'd be saying the counties would then apply for the school use of
Yeah,
facility form then.
the use permit can go from to the county to the DOE. I mean, because I think that's the intent of the MOU for that area anyway, it was a county to state agreement.
Okay,
So
well,
maybe-
I'll
Yeah.
have to check with the DOE, but at least when I spoke with them, I just actually spoke with them this morning. That was the route that they were going with the counties. That's why. So
Yeah, so I think I know what the state's trying to do, but I think the intent of that whole agreement was, it wasn't for the public user to directly apply to the school. I mean, for the park users to be able to use that parking lot.
right, but I'm not trying to provide a rebuttal, but the main times when the park users actually need parking is when the games are actually going on, right?
Yeah, and school's not
In terms of, yeah, right, and school's not in session, so obviously they wouldn't be using it during regular school hours, but mainly
Right.
the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. But other
Right.
than the Saturday, Sundays, during a regular weekday, is the parking necessary for park users other than the weekend usage?
During a regular weekday after school hours, I don't believe so. It'd be more for events on the weekends.
Okay.
Chair,
Yep.
is it possible to maybe get a draft copy of the MOU? Is there a draft copy already? Then at least we can kind of get an idea of what direction the city's coming from or the state's coming from to kind of get a better idea of how to engage both sides to make it more user friendly. Because I know where you're coming from. Like, it doesn't make sense. You go this way and then you go this way. And then what if that one says no? Then what do you do? It should kind of come all together, especially culminating seasons of sport.
I think David can get a copy to me and I can send it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, I can try to get that copy.
Great. David, Stephen Melendres here. I want to dovetail off of Chair Zama's question because I was on the board for the middle school for the PTSO and the SCC for about 10 years altogether. And during all this transaction, it was a lot simpler. The school had said yes, county work it out, but the access was there. And then back to Chair Zama's statement, the school office controls access to the property. They have the forms of the main office, not the DOE office. So then if there's an organization that wants to use the parking lot, would they go to a DOE office or to the school office?
That would actually be done through the school. So
School office.
the way that they had worked out the process is the user groups would apply directly with the schools, just as I believe the the neighborhood board does with Mililani Mauka L, or the commission office does with Mililani Mauka L. to rent the cafeteria.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Broussard. I go to Grace Point, but I also work up at Mililani Middle. And I have seen just after school that adjacent property being used all the time for the practices for the students. And it goes all the way until dusk. And I understand that there's also a fence or a gate there that has to be closed, but I'm looking at safety, I'm looking at lighting, I'm looking at all those other things that the school can provide. And just parking on the side may not be enough parking for all of the practices and the increased flow of students or that are using that adjacent property. I think we should reconsider the availability of that parking lot. Unfortunately, it would require somebody to open and close the gate, yeah, because it's there. But please reconsider that because sports is year round and it's until dusk most of the time. And I just want to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Senator's office this evening? Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, moving on to Representative District 38, Representative Matsumoto. Hi, Lauren.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. So I have for you today our final session wrap-up that I promised last month. So on the front, I do want to make sure to point out our e-newsletter sign-up. I always like to make sure to call attention to this because, as you know, these mailers, we only have enough money to send them out every once in a while, but we try to send out our e-newsletters during session every 2 weeks and out of session once a month to keep you updated. And of course, if things are happening quickly, that we can get you information out. So please sign up for our e-newsletter. And also, when we're during the interim, this is the time that I really enjoy meeting with people to talk about bills. This is the time we're drafting bills for next session. So please feel free to reach out. On the inside, you'll see I picked out of the 274 bills passed this year. I picked out some of the bills that I thought would be most important for you to look at. And I also have my disclaimer, this isn't bills that I introduced or even bills that I necessarily supported, but I thought they were important for everybody to see. We mentioned the funding for Mililani. We've gone over that a few times, but here's all the CIP funding on the next page. The only little mistake there is under the 1 million, there's the plans and design construction for the resurfacing and restriping of driveways. It doesn't mention which school. That's for Mililani Ike Elementary School. So just wanted to call attention to that. And as we mentioned during session, we always send out surveys to the district. And so I have provided the survey results as well. This is only 4 of the 10 questions asked. If you want to see the full survey results, we have it on repmatsumoto.com. And under information, you can look at the survey results as well as past surveys from years prior. And then I also wanted to call out, we do our capital internships every year within our office. I do have a limited number of spaces. We've learned it's important to be able to invest in the students. And so we only have 4 spots available for high school and college. But if people are interested in applying, we have our internship program. And at the very end, wanted to just do some of the community updates we had during session. One of the really enjoyable things I mentioned to you before, but we had 310 Mililani High School students that we recognized for their excellence in winning an OIA championship or a state championship. It was amazing to see them at the Capitol all sitting. They filled almost the entire gallery. And so that was wonderful. And just highlights from our Mililani Town Hall. We will be having another town hall coming up, and I will let you know about that when it comes time. But in regards to the constituent concern about the water fountain, our office also got called. We reached out to Parks and Rec, and actually last Monday, they went out to check on that and to review. It was beyond the scope of Parks and Rec, and so they contracted out to one of their trade. So plumbing went out last Monday. They were going to see if they could fix it on the spot, but if not, they're going to follow up with us. So just wanted to give that update because I know that was brought up. But other than that, that is my report for this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Representative Matsumoto this evening? Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Representative District 46, Representative Peruso. Amy, are you online?
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Aloha, and congratulations to board members for your election and re-election. I wanted to start just by updating you folks with what I've been up to since my last report. So we've been really involved in the Cacao for Keiki efforts. The issue of hunger is real in our community, and we've had an opportunity to serve and to distribute boxes to families with children who are in need twice a week over the interim, and it's basically a program that stretches for 9 weeks out of the summer. And in the first distribution, we serve about 450, or we distribute about 450 boxes, and the second one are usually around 100. And I wanted to thank board member Kuehu for her help with those efforts, and for even bringing her children along, getting them involved in civic engagement. I really appreciated that. It's really important that we all kind of support this effort. And this second bucket of work that I've really been involved in has been around civic engagement and civic education. So with the PACE Commission, we participated in the Education Leadership Institute and made a presentation to the DOE principals across the state with respect to civic education work. And Mililani High School has actually submitted an application to be one of our first schools of democracy. And that application is being reviewed. And we expect to hear shortly about the results of that process. I also wanted to say, Achieve Zero, really grateful for their work, and they announced their new campaign, We Are Wahiwa, and I think that's relevant for Launani Valley and Mililani as well, because I think that the work we do in this area in Wahiwa, where I am currently, will actually really support the work in our neighboring communities. And we have been kind of working hand in hand, and we are working to bring Family Promise back into our community to support transitional housing, working with the churches, the faith-based community. And we're also trying to strengthen the work that our healthcare organizations, Wahiwa General and Wahiwa Health, are engaged in, especially as they connect schools to public health opportunities and really kind of do work around prevention of homelessness. And I also wanted to take this opportunity to introduce my new office manager. So Yvonne, if you could turn on your camera while I say a few words. So Yvonne Euro is a graduate of University of British Columbia. So she first graduated from Lelehua High School. So she's a Wahiwa girl, and then got her bachelor's in resource conservation, and then just completed her master's in public administration at Manoa. And we're really grateful to have her. My former office manager, Tina Grandinetti, who is also a former student of mine, is moving on to do postdoctoral work. And I'm excited to have Yvonne join us. She has a real heart for the community, and also a great deal of background that I think is going to be really powerful for our community. So Yvonne, if you could say a few words, if you wouldn't mind, just to introduce yourself.
Of course. Mahalo, Rep. Peruso. And aloha, everyone. It's so nice to meet you, and congratulations as well for your reappointments, or your for your appointment this upcoming neighborhood board session. I'm really excited to be working with you folks and working in this community. As Rep. Peruso mentioned, I am from Wahiwa, born and raised in Wahiwa, but I really have a heart for the central Oahu area. My background is in natural resource conservation, so my love for the conservation of land ties in closely with food policy and ag policy, which I feel like Rep. Peruso has done a great deal of work around, and I hope that we can continue doing that work for the upcoming session. So mahalo, and thanks for having me.
And we are available for your questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Representative Caruso's office this evening? No, seeing none. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative District 37, Representative La Chica. Trish, evening.
Evening, members. Congratulations. Welcome to the neighborhood board. Happy to be here. I am distributing the actual printed copy of my newsletter, which I verbally shared at last month's meeting, but now you get to have a colored copy. It should also already be in the Google Drive, in your Google Drive. And then I wanted to just highlight again, Officer Tim Inuma mentioned in partnership with the Honolulu Police Department and the Office of the Department of the Attorney General's Crime Prevention Division. So we're doing this big event and seats are filling up pretty quickly. It was also in the Central Oahu midweek today. I know Alice registered to be there, so see you next week. But this is really, it's meant to be an engaging opportunity to collaborate with your neighbors. And what it really is, having met with HPD's leadership is, everybody does need law enforcement. We want to support our police. We want them to do a great job, but they can't do everything alone. And so we're bringing in resources to the community to learn how you can protect your home. So HPD will talk about environmental design. So what protections to put in your home. And then also Attorney General's office will talk about what strategies you can do as a family to protect your kids, seniors from potential, online fraud and other things. And then we're going to invite the safety director from the Waikele Community Association, who will be talking about the very successful neighborhood watch program in Waikele. They have about 20 very active neighborhood watch programs. So please join us. It's free and open to the Central Oahu community. I wanted to, I think I highlighted, so just thanks, as a freshman representative, just appreciate the opportunity to get to work on different issues this year. The e-cigarette regulation is always going to be a favorite that I got to work on, as well as a lot of the CIP, including funding that goes directly to Achieve Zero, who just presented today. I wanted to follow up on Stephen's question last month about the funding for the Aloha Harvest, the Resilience Hub. So it's a 5-year planning period. So they're actually in phase 2. So what it really is it's meant to address food security to enable us to better respond to future disasters. So what they're envisioning is a staging facility, which is hopefully, if they get enough funding, because it's only $150,000 that the state allocated, but they've also pushed out for grants and they have some funds that might also come in from the city. But they are hoping that it would be done by 2027. But what it is right now, their current model is vehicle pickup drop-off. And so what they want is an actual site. And actually, Central Oahu provides a lot of the food donations, about 15% of the donations that they receive. And so having a site that increases capacity for storage, so dry, chill, and frozen, it enables them to scale current food rescue operations, as well as reduce food waste, and then also doubles as a site or triage site for disaster preparedness. So in addition to storing food and water, medicine, partner with the military, and really just, I think it's something that could really benefit the Central Oahu community, just because access to this community should a disaster happen would cut us off from town. So he'll keep us posted, but I'll continue to meet with Phil, the executive director, and then maybe as plans firm up, he can share and maybe report back if you're interested. There will be some type of working group too that you'll have an opportunity to be a part of. And then finally, wanted to just give a shout out to Rep Matsumoto. She led sponsoring 2 certificates at the Mililani 50th Gala anniversary. Was that just last weekend? I think it was last weekend. So we celebrated at the Okinawan Center. Mililani High School celebrated 50 years and they honored Marilyn Lee and Coach Kawinana. And so thanks, Lauren, for sponsoring those certificates and honoring them. It was a fun event. And we also last weekend did the Mauka cleanup with HPD. So that was fun. I had some residents from Olaloa come help us clean some graffiti, pick up trash along Ainamakua, Makaikai, and Meheula Parkway. So we're going to do another one probably in the Mililani town side, and then I'll provide an update when we get that. And it'll be, we'll ask for volunteers again, but it was my first time doing it with folks, and I really enjoyed it. So we'll definitely be doing more of those. That's it for my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Representative LaChica's office this evening? No, thank you.
Aloha.
Okay, moving on to approval of our June 20th board minutes. Members, any corrections or comments regarding the minutes? Seeing none, any objections to adopting the minutes? Seeing no objections, any abstention? Seeing none, the minutes have been adopted. Moving on to our committee reports. Patsy T. Mink, Central Regional Park. No report. Committees, Education, Stephen.
Yes, thank you. Dylan, can you share the report? Thank you. I'll be reporting on, as the Education Committee Chair, I'll be reporting on Mililani Middle School. At the top, across the top is the administration. I want to say, give a shout out to the new assistant principals, Principal Pang and Principal Tatayama. They've recently come on board, a great team. So you've joined a great team. Thank you very much for serving. To come down in the center is a very good, helpful resources, reminders, a preparation for the kids going to school, forms and payments, student fees, etc., prepaid meal plan. Second item down is the packet pickup, which is very important. The first day of school, August 7 to 23, 6th grade, 7th grade students, and 8th. And then student reminders to wear their ID cards and cell phones, etc. Very good. Now, this information, which Dylan is sharing, is actually accessible on the Mililani Middle School website, which is www.mililaniמיddle.k12.hi.us. And the second page of my report is very important for our community. It is the school calendar. This is accurate. This is, I really like the way that the DOE did it. It flows really easily. So thank you very much for sharing that. Also, I want to say thank you to, we're going to do a recognition for Shelby Horn. She was my assistant. She was our, in taking care of the elementary schools in Mililani. And she's not on the board this time, so I am looking for someone to replace her, to work with me. And also I'm looking for a representative to help us with the schools, with our residents in Launani Valley. So under the neighborhood plan, we can have a person on the committees that are part of the board or part of the community. So anybody from the community or the boards that would like to go ahead and support the education committee, I would appreciate it. Just come up and see me. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on, Military and Civil Defense, Parks and Recreation. Nope. Planning, Permitting, Zoning, Transportation, Recognition, Alice? I already did one.
Sorry. I don't like these things. Other than wishing that Shelby was here in person, it would have been nice to see her again. But as Steve said, she did a fantastic job. So the other thing I would say is I'd like to congratulate all of us on our reelection.
Thank you. All right, anybody have any other announcements this evening? Hearing none, our next board meeting will be held here Tuesday, August 15th at 7 p.m. and also via WebEx. Seeing no other board business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.